What is our response to these global businesses? Do we want them in Singapore or not? These companies can locate their functions in any other hub city, be it Hong Kong, New York, or London. If we were to take a politically craven approach and impose many stringent conditions on their ability to operate here, we will lose out on many good investments. We would have fewer foreigners for sure, but many Singaporeans will also be deprived of good jobs and career opportunities. It's like cutting off one's nose to spite one's face. Let me be clear, we are bringing in investments and growing the economy not as an end in itself, but as a means to an end. Our aim is to create good jobs and improve the lives of all Singaporeans. And our strategies have worked. Look at the data over the last decade. From 2010 to 2019, up until COVID struck, median income in real terms grew by 3.2% per annum for residents. Income growth at the lower end has kept pace with the median. Likewise, household incomes have also risen across the board. Our employment rate has been amongst the highest in the world. Our unemployment rate has been kept low. Look at the PMETs data. Professional managers, executive technicians. Between 2010 and 2020, local PMET employment grew by about 300,000. This is almost 3 times the increase in EP and S-Pass holders over the same time period, which was about 110,000. These are substantial achievements which we can be proud of and which we should celebrate. But the PSP wants to sweep these aside. They downplay the jobs, opportunities, and outcomes we have created and play up the anxieties. The PSP assumes that if we reduced the number of foreigners here, then all these jobs will automatically go to Singaporeans. Mr. Leong has a euphemism for it. He called it, in one of his earlier Facebook posts, rebalancing. But it's quite clear what he means. In one post, he said we can get rid of tens of thousands, I quote, tens of thousands of work pass holders, and he thinks that Singaporeans can fill these jobs. But that thinking is fatally flawed. First, we already have more than 25,000 PMET vacancies today, with many companies still looking to hire. With so many companies having difficulties filling these vacancies, how would we find people with the relevant skill sets to take on the additional tens of thousands of jobs that Mr. Leong thinks can be created by getting rid of the foreigners? Second, if our policies were to become overly restrictive, companies will just find other places to operate in where they can be more competitive. We would lose all the jobs they brought here. And if we are not careful, decades of hard work to build up our business hub will be wasted. Our economy will contract and go down in a tailspin. We'll end up with far worse problems, and it's not the foreigners, but Singaporeans who will ultimately pay the price. Today, foreign PMETs account for about 20% of our PMET workforce. For those who would like to see fewer foreign work pass holders, they may perhaps be feeling a sense of nostalgia about how things were like in the past. Let's say we go back to the 1990s. Back then, we were not as developed as a hub economy, so foreign PMETs accounted for just 10% of our PMET workforce. But remember, our overall standards of living were also much lower then. In 1995, that's the earliest I could get data on, our GDP per capita was just around $35,000 instead of more than $80,000 now. And median salaries of residents were less than $2,000 compared to around $4,500 today. Is that what we want? Stagnate in the 1990s while the rest of the world progresses around us? Remember how Mr. Lee Kuan Yew once said, "Never fear, 10 years from now this will be a metropolis." What do Mr. Leong and the PSP promise? 10 years from now, we will go back 30 years?